Up, everyone? So back again. Are y'all ready to start the conversation? I think I'm ready to start. So let's go.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Dropping the mask we wear day to day, building real trust in a brand new way. For a deeper connection, let's explore on transparent conversations. Transparent conversations, where every word can open doors. Transparent conversations.
Hey, welcome to Transparent Conversations, Elevated Exchanges. I am the host, Calvin, or CPJR, or CPJR 300. Only if you feel me, though. Welcome back to my space on the internet, my YouTube channel, Transparent Conversations, and then my Substack, again, Transparent Conversations. You can find me on either one of those. On Instagram, same thing. Facebook, same thing. So this is where I talk about the current political situation. I'm not breaking any news. What I'm doing, I'm basically talking about what I see, what we'll need to do or what we need to avoid in the future in order to save our democracy and not let this happen again. So I do this on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 8 o'clock, and sometimes on Sundays. I'm really trying to stick to that schedule. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. So my mic stand just broke. It just broke. And I don't have a crew to go fix it, so I'm gonna have to hold my mic tonight. Then I'll get this fixed. I have another piece. I could fix it now, but I scheduled this to go on at 8, so I said, you know what, I'm just gonna keep on going. I'll have it fixed by tomorrow, and I get to feel how I get to know how it feels to actually have to hold your mic. So right now we're still talking about the same thing that we've been talking about. We've been talking about how the midterms, and how if we do not win the midterms, we're going to be in a whole lot of trouble. But really, what I'm afraid of is that I don't actually think we are going to win the midterms. As bad as things are, I think it's more than just a bad. It's just a. I don't think that the Republicans are our only enemies or the only ones that are kind of okay with the status quo. I'm seeing a lot of signs that we actually do have blue MAGA. The corporate and the AIPAC Dems are a danger to us all because they are bought and sold and paid for by AIPAC. So if we're ever going to get out of this, we have to definitely make sure that all the politicians, including the Democrats, know that we're not going to keep, settling for just having Israel and AIPAC all up in our politics. It's just like it's apparent that there's a problem. It's apparent that they aren't really addressing it. Up in the corner, up here, you see I live in Maryland. I'm in the 4th Congressional District, and our current representative is Glenn Ivey. He is an AIPAC Democrat. He has taken over $13 million, or $13 million was injected into the race to unseat Donna Edwards to become our representative, but really he's AIPAC's representative because we don't hear much from him right now. And this is what I'm trying to say about the Democrats and the AIPAC Democrats. I'm going to play some videos. You know I am showing exactly what I'm talking about. But everything that's happening overseas with the whatever you call the thing we're doing with Iran and Israel into Lebanon, that whole thing is happening, and I really don't hear any condemnation from Democrats. I don't hear much from Democrats. I don't really hear much from Democrats. They're too busy worrying about. I don't know exactly what they're worried about. They're worried about I don't know what they're worried about. I don't know if they're in the fight or what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. To be absolutely honest with you, I see no leadership coming from the Democratic Party. I also see no leadership coming from the leaders of the Democratic Party. What I see is confusion, capitulation, appeasement, And they're just going along with the program. They don't seem like what they call opposition, low opposition. They don't seem like they really care about what's happening. Some of them do. Now, my man Chris Van Hollen, I'm in Maryland, so he's my senator. He definitely is in for the fight, but he's actually right. I put it in the show notes. He sent a note to the Democrats, and I'm gonna read some of that right now. He says primary voters won't trust any Democratic presidential candidate who does not have a record of moral and strategic clarity on these issues, especially if, as a legislator, he or she voted to send Mr. Netanyahu bombs, even has his government imposed a total blockade on Gaza. He wrote, nor will they support a candidate who plans to re-enlist the senior Democratic decision makers who whitewashed the truth during the Biden administration and refused to acknowledge their complicity. So that's coming from Chris Van Hollen. Again, that's my senator. I voted for him since I was a lot younger than this, but he's been there, always doing the job. And he showed exactly what I think a senator would do if someone was deported to a torture prison illegally. He went and got Kilmar Brea Garcia from the camp, and he's showing who he truly is by still going through, by writing this note to the Democrats, trying to get the Democrats to understand that there is no more support for AIPAC. There is no more support for Democrats who take all the money they can to be pro-Israel, get in the office, and then do Israel bidding. You are. It's a known thing that the reason that we lost in 2024 is because Kamala, why she lost, was because not enough people were paying attention to how people were really feeling about Palestine and the genocide being done, or the genocide being put on the Palestinian people by Israel. It's been a long. I didn't even see this coming. Like, we would be waking up and actually having an issue with Israel, right? And because they always called us anti-Semitic, but now we have Hasidic Jews against Zionists. They're calling each other anti-Semitic now. So the whole thing is like it's coming off the lid. And right now, our country's in the middle of it. We're in a war with Iran, and just this weekend there's supposed to be a peace deal. Now, when I read the peace deal and I saw who the negotiators were, I didn't see Israel listed in there, and I knew that whatever these people were talking about, whatever the president at number 47 was trying to sell to us, wasn't going to fly. Because if Israel is not listed as a negotiator, or they sign off on it, it won't happen. Because our country has been run by the Israeli government, Netanyahu. We are in this war until Netanyahu lets us out. We gain nothing. We absolutely gain nothing by attacking Iran. We gain nothing. We lose more. We could lose everything with this war. And for some reason, our president has decided that, we're going to keep going with it. We're going to keep going with Israel. So I just want to say right now, if you've been here before, thank you. If you're just catching me from the first time, thank you. If this is something that you want to support my work in trying to help the Democratic Party, or actually just help us maintain our democracy by me calling it as I see it, that would be great. If you could just take a moment to like, share, subscribe to the I don't know, I'm looking for something. Like, share, subscribe to the to my channel and to this podcast, so that I can make it better. Fix my mic stand. I got about a mic stand now. I don't have to buy one. I think I have the piece I need. I hope I do. I think I do. So anyway, I'll get that fixed. So anyway, if you can help, help. If you can't, please. Thank you. Just like, share, subscribe. And actually, I'm trying I'm trying to get a new song in the beginning of my podcast. I guess a jingle or whatever you call it. So that song was made by Gemini, Google's AI, Gemini. They actually came out of that. That's my second attempt. The first attempt was very milk toast, and I said make it a little more funky, like hip hop, and then that's what they came out. It's still milk toast. I need a real AI is not going to be able to give me what I want, I don't think. So I maybe need to either go back to my go-go music, which I really like, or find a way to get the right prompts. But now it's costing more to do things, because before they were giving it away, the tokens for compute. Now it's costing money. So I tried to match the graphic to the jingle, to the introduction, that song, Transparent Conversations, and I didn't have enough tokens. I had to upgrade my account, and I ain't doing that. So, yeah, if you know about AI is getting to be, it's more controversial. They're going to have to start charging the real prices. If you don't know how AI is paid for, or how you actually use AI or pay for it, it's paid for by tokens. You have to buy tokens. A token is actually a word. So every time you type a word into your prompt, or an API call in your software, you're using tokens, and tokens are expensive. People blow through their tokens in a matter of minutes, and then that's it. You can't do anything else. You have to buy some more. That's why I'm not really, or you use local models too. That's why I'm not really gung-ho for AI, because I don't think it's the way they're doing it right now is not sustainable. You can't build data centers everywhere, and and I think they know they're not going. All these data centers are not going to be built. They just want to get the funding, and the money can just disappear. Yeah, so please like, share, subscribe, and let me know how you like that music. Let me know if I should be doing something else. Maybe I should be going back to go-go. You know what you want to hear. You want to hear some go-go? So let's get started. Before I get started, I need to shout out my sponsor for this week, and I don't know who that is. Hold on one second. My sponsor this week is going to be HyperNatural, which is a clothing brand that's been featured in stores like Nordstrom's, Macy's. It's a clothing brand, but their clothing is all natural, right? Meaning that they don't use polyester. It's moisture wicking. Like you have those active shirts. It's like that. So you're not going to see the big sweat stains. It kind of takes care of the odor too. But the most important thing with this forgot the word with these clothing, like polo shirts, things like that, is that it is moisture wicking. So I'm gonna play their a little something from them, and then I'm gonna go ahead and go into the show you the website, and then we'll proceed from there, because I got you 20% off. So if you buy something from them, use my code word ELEVATE, you'll get 20% off.
Nobody likes to tell you this, but there are tricks that most clothing brands use to sound clean while selling you plastic. Watch for these words. If you hear sustainability, eco-conscious, made with natural fibers, which is kind of sneaky, because having a little bit of natural with a lot of plastic is no good, and still legally say that they're made with natural fibers. Same for earth-friendly, same for responsibly sourced. This means that the brands want you to feel good just as much as they want you to look good. But the thing is, the only word that actually means something is the fiber content on the tag. So flip it over, take a look at your shirt, and read the tag. Read your labels, just like you do in your food.
Cool. So that's them. So this is their website. It's HyperNatural.com. Be in the show notes, and I say if you use my code, you get an extra 20% off your purchases. So go and check them out. I believe they use things like a cotton. They use crab shells. And they use, what else? Natural products. You can read it on the site. But basically, if you want to, the plastics are a problem, microplastics. If you don't want to keep wearing the petroleum-based polyester, things like that, this is a natural alternative. Last week, I had an alternative with the... what I had? I'm sorry. with the chill boys, the bamboo. Chill boys with the bamboo for the underwear. And now we have this natural fibers, no polyester, and some moisture wicking material, odor hiding material. It looks good. It'll look good on you. And let's get ready for the summer. All right, guys. All right, so let's go back to the actual show and get started on talk about what we want to talk about. First, I do want to talk about Zakia. I did sign up to do, I think it's over there. Yeah, Zakia. I did sign up to do phone banking for her. I definitely have about, you can see right here, I got her here. She's a track AIPAC recommended politician for the House. She doesn't take any money from AIPAC. All small donations, so she won't be beholden to AIPAC. She can vote against sending them more bombs, missiles, planes, whatever we send them to continue their genocide against the Arabs and the Muslims in the Middle East. We need to vote for people who are hostile towards Israel, not pro-Israel, not pro-Zionism, that they're pro-humanity. Right, you cannot, like I say about Israel, you cannot be in the neighborhood and constantly getting in fights and think everybody else is the problem. You are the problem. All right, so where am I at? Let's talk about. So I really want to dwell. I really want to try to dwell on this concept of where we are and what we need to concentrate on, because it seems our government has been captured. It's been captured by the Israelis. I don't know what else to say. It's been captured by the Israelis. They have shown themselves over and over again to be quite violent, quite determined to take every people's land. They don't believe that the Palestinians are people. They treat them like animals, and they kill them. Children, everything. And from the videos that we see on a regular basis, especially from the flotilla that was captured and the people were tortured, nothing. I heard nothing from Democrats. Why? Because why don't I hear anything from Democrats? That's the question. Why? Because they can't. They took the money. And it was, and I showed you last week where Jasmine Crockett, now she probably is a corporate AIPAC Democrat who endorsed a Democrat out of Illinois. I think it was Illinois. And then the Democrat that took $13 million to beat the incumbent. And then she just came and said, he's a man, he's a choice. And then came back and tried to say it was not an endorsement. I played it last week. She came back and said it wasn't an endorsement, and then all her people on social media were backing her up, saying it wasn't an endorsement. You don't really know what's going on. That's not the way to do it. There's a problem with Democrats. They want to see. When I say blue MAGA, you're going to hear more about this. When I say blue MAGA, I'm saying that I think there's a contingency within the Democratic Party that's fine with what's happening. And it's mostly the corporate AIPAC Dems. I mean, the House leadership, Jeffries and Schumer. Schumer was definitely at an AIPAC meeting telling the members of that meeting, or the attendees of that dinner, that he's going to do everything he could do to keep arming Israel and keep giving them money. No matter what. Now, he doesn't talk like that about what's happening to the American people right now. How our health insurance is going away. Healthcare is going away. It's more expensive. Everything's more expensive. We got a crazy man who's doing whatever he's doing in the Middle East. But we can't get the Democrats to come up with a plan. What happens after the midterms? They are unable to communicate as a group. As a party, as a team, and tell us what the plan is past the midterms, or what they want to happen past the midterms. What do they want to happen after 2028 if we win the presidency again? I don't think they want to win. I don't see it. Some of them do, but the ones that want to win are the progressive Democrats. That's why I named this show "Progressives or Bust." But the rank and file Democrats that took all the money, No, we don't. We don't really see anything from them. So I'm going to talk about, first thing I want to talk about, because it seems to be everything that's happening right now. It seems to be revolving around the influence of Israel on our government. And we need to understand that what we've been told, and I feel bad about this, what we've been told about Israel all our lives was a lie. Was a complete and total lie. They are the problem, Israel. And like now, what I'm saying, as I'm saying this right now, right, I have to worry about the government, my government, the government of the United States of America, coming after me for criticizing another country. That for some reason we put above that the politicians put above the citizens of this country. And we supposedly have free speech, except when it comes to Israel. Roll the videotape.
Zionists will typically tell you a story that goes something like this. In late 1947, the UN adopted a resolution that proposed a partition so that both Jews and Palestinians could have their own separate states and live happily ever after. The Jews, ever so grateful, accepted the deal and abided by the UN's proposal, while the Palestinians and surrounding Arab countries refused and launched a full-scale war to annihilate the nascent Jewish state. As a result, little Israel had no choice but to ethnically cleanse 700,000 plus Palestinians and place the remaining population under military rule for decades to come. That sounds fine and dandy until we actually examine the historical record more closely and ask some inconvenient questions, like, why did the UN have the right to give away more than half of Palestine to a group that, in 1947, made up less than a third of the population, owned less than 7% of the land, and aspired to create a Jewish ethno-state in a predominantly Arab region? Why were Palestinians expected to accept this and to cede valuable lands like the fertile coastal and interior plains to a racist settler colonial project? Why were they expected to give up 40% of their industry and key sources of the country's electrical supply simply because the UN decided that those assets would fall within the borders of the proposed Jewish state? The only way to frame Palestinians as irrational or wrong for their refusal to partition their homeland is if you view the situation through a colonial lens where the agency of indigenous Palestinians is deprioritized to accommodate the will of the colonizers. In fact, Zionist forces had already ethnically cleansed about 300,000 Palestinians before the entrance of a single Arab state's army into Palestine.
Okay, see, that's what we're dealing with, right? I don't think many people actually know the history of Israel, and that hasn't been there forever, because they always say it was promised to them in the Bible. The Bible's not is admissible in court, so I think a lot of people, if you go back and look at what happened, they try to say the Palestinians weren't there. They was not Palestine. I'm like, Palestine doesn't exist. That's what they say. But it was called Palestine. I don't know what to say. And they are called Palestinians. And then they, for some reason, and I've read about some of the different things as to why the British did it. And it seemed to be some money owed to the Rothschilds, things like that, and that's why they actually ended up in Palestine because in order to give them a homeland, but it was somebody else's homeland. They had no interest because they are very xenophobic. We've seen it more over and over again. They don't want to live with anyone, but they gave them that land. They refused to work with the people that were already there because they think they're above those people, and then the other people in the region said, "Oh no," and attack Israel, which they should have done. Because you cannot dictate to the people that live there how they should be living, and that's the problem. And from that point on, Israel has controlled the narrative where everyone in this country, or most people in this country, believes that Arabs just hate the Jews, which is not true. There's no ancient hatred. There's no ancient hatred there. There's no ancient beef where they have to be fighting all the time. It's currently what happened in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. This is a new problem. This is not an old problem. This is a problem with the people that think that they're better. They're not from there. They're European Jews, not Semitic Jews. They're not from the jungle. They're not from the desert. So we have to really, come to grips with the fact that we know that our education sucks so much. Like, as a black person, I know that most of the stories that I've gotten about my upbringing, and the reason I will not never watch another slave movie, because according to that's the only thing that gets greenlit. So as far as I know, all we see is slave movies, The Help, things like that. We don't get the real stories of. I mean, it's always gonna be oppression in our stories, but we actually I have more. Like we did Numbers, that show about the women that worked for NASA. There's more stories like that. That wasn't all about oppression. My life wasn't about oppression. I didn't really deal with too much racism growing up because we grew up in the DMV, in an area that was upperly mobile for black people, in a neighborhood that started out mixed. The white people moved out, but the other people stayed. The people from the Philippines, Cambodia, South America, those people stayed, and those people became our friends. And the white people left. Don't ask me why. I don't know. They don't like black people. I think that's what happened. They don't like black people, so they moved. The houses were nice. The house is still there. It was a nice neighborhood. But I guess if you don't want to culturally mix with black people, I think you would just move, right? That's what they did. White flight. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to stick on this because I'm going to lay the groundwork on our real problem. What's really happening. You know what I'm saying? We are not in Iran. All our attention is not focused on Iran for nothing. For the Middle East for nothing. We were taken into war by a fascist dictator, Netanyahu, who believes in his mission to destroy the Arabs and then to take over the whole region. They don't have oil, but all the countries around them do. So what do you want to do? You want to pick fights with them, trying to get a piece of that. Roll the next video. You know what? Hold up 1 second. I'm on. This is done because Ben Gvir. I didn't know who this guy was. He's in Parliament, but he is the guy who was in charge of the people. He was on the boat in the flotilla, laughing and pointing out how people should be tortured. There's a video of it. Look it up, Ben Gvir. But this is Ben Gvir. This is in his language. So if you aren't seeing the video of this, you're only seeing this on Spotify or some other thing like that, you're not gonna understand what he's saying. But what he's actually saying is that that any agreement that doesn't destroy Iran, they will not let it go. So they're in charge. He's actually saying that he's in charge of what's happening in Israel. In the Middle East with Iran and Lebanon, because that's the way it plays out. You hear this nut in the White House talking about, I don't know what he's talking about, but then when it comes down to them doing a deal, Israel says no, then there's no deal. So who's in charge? I can't even read the subtitles. I'm at this
אני יודע שראש הממשלה נתניהו וכולנו מצומצם, גם קבינט רחב, גם ממשלת ישראל.
I think I'm gonna try to bring this back another time because I didn't do that correctly. You can't really read the subtitles, but basically that's what he's saying. He's basically saying that there will be no deal with Iran until they approve of it. And what did Trump say? Nothing. Nothing, because he's right. That's because he knows what's going on. Because basically, he said he had a deal Saturday night, and then all of a sudden, no deal, and then attacked them, and then start attacking them. So there you go. Let me play one more. Yeah, one more about Israel, and then we're gonna move on to what I really want to talk about: Blue MAGA.
So last week, U.S. diplomats were in Tehran negotiating with Iran. The talks were actually moving forward. Iran put one major condition on the table. Israel has to stop bombing Lebanon. Reasonable, right? If you want regional de-escalation, stop active bombing campaign. So what happened next? May 25th, yesterday, the same week these negotiating are happening, Netanyahu goes on TV and declares Israel is in a state of war with Hezbollah. He ordered massive escalation. Airstrikes hit the Bekaa Valley residential areas in 3 even Palestinian refugee camps. This is not an accident. This is a message from Netanyahu. Because here's what Netanyahu knows. If the US-Iranian deal succeeds, Israel loses its justification for the regional military dominance. A stable Middle East does not need a permanent military watchdog. So he escalates, making the Iranian deal impossible, and when it collapses, American politicians will blame Iranian intransigence. You might think that the US would have said something about an ally sabotaging its diplomacy, right? I don't see anybody talking about it because AIPAC spent over $100 million in last election cycle and making sure Congress does not ask the question. They targeted 30 plus congressional races and they won almost all of them. The result, your representatives are more scared of AIPAC's campaign funding than their voters, and their voters watching their diplomacy getting humiliated in public. So what actually happening here? The US sent Israel $3.8 billion a year in military aid. That's your tax money. In return, Israel operates with the effective veto power over American foreign policy in the Middle East. You want to negotiate with a ceasefire, right? Israel can just escalate with your money, causing oil shortage, fertilizer shortage, increase your inflation, and making your life harder. Let me ask you a question. If you found an ally, but that ally ignores your diplomacy, defies your request, and make your government look weak on the world stage, are they really your ally, or are they just a parasite feeding off your tax money and making you sick until you eventually collapse, and that parasite will move on to another host sooner or later?
So what you heard him say, right? Who's in charge? We paid them $100 million in the last election. So that money, and then we give them $3.8 billion every year. So the money that they're using to interfere with our elections comes from our tax money. That isn't, you know what I'm saying? That's stuff that we know. We know that to be true. We know that. And if you ever see one of the politicians that take AIPAC money on at an AIPAC meeting or anything like that, they don't talk about America. They don't care about American issues. They don't care about they don't care about our health care, because they get free universal. They get health care from the government. One payer, a single payer, like we don't have. They get free university too. They get, but the point is, they're using the money that we give them to influence our elections, and then our politicians take it, and then they just don't say anything, and they don't care. They don't challenge anything because they know that money's going to come back, and that's why I endorse Jakia Johnson, because she's endorsed by Track AIPAC, taking no AIPAC money, no PAC money at all. But you have the other ones that do, and I'm going to show you how it works in a minute. I'm going to show you how the influence, even when they say they reject it or they shouldn't have took it, they're still under the influence of AIPAC. It's a serious problem, and I guess I want to keep talking about it because I don't know. Because that's just a clear and present danger. When I say blue MAGA, I do believe, and I could be wrong, but I do believe there's a certain number of politicians that are in our government that are Democrat are perfectly fine with what's going on. They don't seem to be pretty upset. They're perfectly fine. But here's the thing, right? You rarely ever see a bipartisan bill that was sponsored by Republicans, right? What I'm saying is, if the Democrats want to get something through, they're not going to get bipartisan help from the Republicans. Republicans just shut that shit down, just like they did with all the Supreme Court nominations. They shut that shit down right before, because it was a year before the election. They said, nope, we're gonna give the people a chance to, so they shut it down. The last bill about the FISA court and our rights being extended, that was a bipartisan. They passed that in a bipartisan way. So it's like the Democrats are pretty much okay with what's going on up to a certain point, meaning that they get they get the information for their stock trades, they get their money, they get their they make themselves feel good. But really, when it comes down to what we actually need done, they won't do it because they do not care. They do not care. You cannot tell me that this happened under Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, they're the leaders of the in the Congress for the Democrats, and they still have not come out with anything. What's the plan after? And that doesn't make any sense to me. This is an existential danger. This could change everyone's lives forever in this country. If this goes through, every empire falls. This might be our fall. Because we can't get a loyal opposition, someone who wants to actually win. What do they get by winning? I mean, how is losing affected Chuck Schumer, Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries? How has it affected them? Have they lost their job? A lot of people were laid off in D.C. How has it affected them? They're still getting a check, and they're still getting the money from AIPAC. For as long as they back up AIPAC, they still get their money. Let's talk about Blue MAGA. Let's talk about Blue MAGA and what we see right now. This is a good one.
So last week, U.S. diplomat
Blue MAGA's response to attacks on Hassan Piker is a great example of how the first job of liberalism is to attack the left. Let me repeat that. The first primary job of liberalism is not to attack fascism, it is to attack the left. And that is because historically, if we look at it, liberalism is one mode of maintaining capitalism, being nice, capitulating to a few of the demands of the left, but maintaining the system. And then fascism is the second hammer of capitalism that maintains it by taking all those capitulations. And that is why I'm no longer surprised when the fascist authoritarian administration, when it attacks what it perceives to be the left in Hassan Piker, liberals who claim to stand for a free and fair and liberal democracy clap along like fucking seals. And that is because Trump is doing their job just openly. Instead of capitulating and giving some concessions to quiet down the left, he is using authoritarian strong force. The argument liberals make is not necessarily that they're against fascism, but that if they do that, then there will be a revolution on our hands that threatens all of the system that we all deeply care about, capitalism. And that is why they are happy, gleeful to support authoritarian and disgusting regimes like the Saudi regime, like the Jordanian regime, and like the Emirati regime, as long as it serves global capital. And to be extremely clear, I'm to the left of Hassan Piker. I do not think he represents the left in America. I don't think the administration is correct in analyzing him as a genuine material threat to said administration. And what Blue MAGA right now is demonstrating to you is the truth of liberalism. They will side with fascists over leftists any day, and right now they're doing that. They only believe in privileges for their little fascist in-group. And that is because those privileges were not created or argued for to protect the left. They were given out to prevent the left from gaining power, as little treats that could be taken away if the left presented any real power. And let me be extremely clear, I'm to the left of Hassan Piker. I don't think he actually represents the left wing of America, and I have many criticisms of him. But it is clear that that is both what Blue MAGA and fascists believe, and so we must understand and analyze their actions in that way. And the reason they are attacking him is because he is a high-profile figure that many people on the left do identify with. And thus, an attack on him is a warning shot against all of us. And Blue MAGA's actually start of this, with the third way targeting him specifically, and now their support for all the Trump administration's actions, are very much that, showing that they will always stand in goose step.
So we have like an example of this right now. We have an example of Zoran Madami, the mayor of New York. He didn't get an endorsement from the Democratic Party. He won the Democratic election. The primary. He ran against the Republican and won. And then they still haven't given him an endorsement. Why? Because he's a Muslim in New York. And if you see the New York, go on track AIPAC and look at how much money the New York politicians take from AIPAC, right? And you'll understand why there's silence about Zoran Madani, and then there's silence about Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker, right? I talked about him before. He's a leftist. You say he's not. He's just very vocal about calling out the Democrats for the bullshit, and Democrats do bullshit. Starting from the election, the primary with the guy named Bernie Sanders, and then the people picking Bernie Sanders, and then them picking Hillary Clinton. I mean, it's just like that. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing the exact same thing happen now. That because they have a way they want things to work out, right? It is not radical. It is not an AOC way to working things out, calling shit out, calling up people on the carpet and trying to do something about it. It's not a Zoran Mandami's way where you promise something and you deliver something and you work for the people every day. Everything that Zoran Mandami is doing has nothing to do with him being Muslim. It has everything to do with him wanting to support the people, and that's what Blue MAGA doesn't want. Right, and they attacked it. They attacked Hassan Piker. I talked about Hassan Piker, right, on this last 2 episodes, I think, how they are attacking him now because he's not running for anything either, because he's saying what's really going on. He's calling out Democrats for putting us in this situation, for leading us into this situation, and not. They don't have the will to. I pretty much have got myself. I'm getting myself to the point where, yeah, we're gonna go through this. We're gonna be in a fascist state because they're not gonna win. They're not gonna win. The Democrats are not gonna win. They don't want to win because they're doing the same thing they've always done. And then we're gonna talk about the autopsy that they had and what happened with that, because the autopsy told them the problem, and it's the same problem they're gonna have in the midterms. Roll the video tape. I hope I got the right one. I don't know. Hold up. Yeah, I think it's. Excuse me 1 second while I figure this out. I really need some help. Y'all want to be a producer? It's much easier when you have help. I think it's this one.
Breaking news just in. Democrats just released a report about the 2024 election and their loss. This is that autopsy report, and it is incomplete, but it does paint a dismal picture for Democrats. It says the party has gone between stagnation and retrogression since Barack Obama's win in 2008, and that Democratic candidates have proven incapable of projecting strength, unity, and leadership, and voters have drifted away. Let's bring back MS Now Capitol Hill reporter Kevin Fry. And Kevin, I know you just are getting an initial look at this. It's 192 pages. I know you haven't had a chance to read through all of it, but based on what you're seeing so far, what are the big takeaways? What do we know about this report?
Yeah, about 20 pages in. I will say, look, one of the things that has stood out to me is one of the things they have in, quite frankly, the opening, which is that they argue that the reduction in support for and training for state parties has contributed to a shift in voter registration issues, organizing capacity for the state at the state level, and persistent problems with their candidates to listen to voters. They also see this as being somewhat of a contradiction when it comes to what voters are backing policy-wise versus backing and supporting their candidates, saying, for instance, voters have backed through referendums in states issues, for example, dealing with health care, abortion rights, the list goes on, things that Democrats might actually typically win on, but at the same time their candidates aren't necessarily winning on those issues. They also say that regaining trust and confidence in the party where voters have an affirmative reason to support Democrats will take a comprehensive strategy and considerable effort over multiple cycles. So this is not some sort of short-term change they're seeing here, saying that Democrats need to do it right now because the future could become even more difficult to do so. Still pouring through some of the kind of the contradictions they see between how Senate candidates did versus the presidential candidates did, where they see the Kamala Harris, for example, failed to get across the finish line compared to other candidates. So a lot more to unpack here, but those are just within the first dozen or so pages, some of the initial takeaways about the kind of structural messaging and favorability issues that the party sees with just the voting public.
Okay, I'm gonna go into the next video because it's the same type of thing about the autopsy and the DNC chairman. The one that was just picked, I don't know his name because I don't want to know his name, didn't want to show the autopsy. It was incomplete, and the conclusion, they didn't even talk about the conclusion here because this is MSN Now. I'm trying to tell you, stop watching mainstream media because this is what you get. The reason that the Democrats lost the election, 90 million people did not vote because they underestimated the impact of them continuously sending weapons to Israel to carry out a genocide against the Palestinian people. That's why Democrats lost. That's why not many people didn't vote. And a lot of us is in the comments arguing about these things, saw it over and over again, how people were saying they can't vote for Kamala Harris because of the genocide. She did not address it, acted like it wasn't an issue, and lost the election. And it's going to happen again. One more video.
Watch this. The chairman of the DNC just got exposed for lying about promising to release the real reason why Democrats and Kamala Harris lost the 2024 election to Trump and the Republicans. He said he was going to release an autopsy, and then he never did and won't tell us why. Take a look at this.
I want to start with the 2024 autopsy, which you call an after-action review. When you won the chairmanship...
Is that the most average-looking white man you ever seen in your life? He looks highly average. And now he's also a cheat and a sneak.
In February of 25, you criticized the DNC's refusal to release their 2016 autopsy as exactly what not to do. You said, quote, was there any utility in doing that? And then promised your 2024 autopsy would be different. Your exact quote was, of course it will be released. Why did you change your mind on that?
Well, look, I mean, what I said all along, even when I ran for this position, is that we were going to focus on the things that will help us win the upcoming election, right? Making sure that we learn the right lessons that could help inform our victories. And that's what we've done. We said this when we sent out the press release back in November saying we weren't going to release the report. We were going to actually keep our focus on those lessons. And we released those lessons. We continue to do that. So it's not completely accurate to say that we didn't release that. Where we're keeping our focus is on the lessons that can actually help us win.
On this show in August, you told me this about releasing the review, quote, we have to do it to give people who invested so much time, energy, and money a sense of what happened and why we lost. Especially why we lost. So what changed between August and December? I understand there are lessons, but those are not the full report. Why not release the full report? What's in the report that you wouldn't want to publicize?
Yeah, there's no smoking gun in the report, and I know that's what everyone's so eager to learn. I mean, the smoking gun. Guess what, John?
But if there's no smoking gun, why wouldn't you just release it then?
Because we want to keep the focus on the lessons. Because what ends up happening here is that people, of course, want to weaponize the report in a way to look backwards, to point fingers, place blame in a way that actually doesn't keep us focused on the upcoming election. But instead, the navel gazing of focusing backwards actually takes us backwards. We're 189 days from this election, John. What we don't need to be focused on is actually relitigating 2024. What we need to do is learn the lessons of 24 and the years preceding that can help us win this upcoming election. I get why people are obsessed with it, because there's various groups and organizations and people who think there's some sort of smoking gun in there.
That's Ken Martin, the chair of the DNC, getting absolutely exposed by John Favreau of Pod Save America, and rightfully so, because he says the Democrats have learned their lessons, therefore it's time to turn the page. But have you really learned the lesson? Because we all know what's in that report that you're refusing to acknowledge. The fact that Kamala Harris refused to distance herself from the Biden administration's handling of Gaza.
Period. That's it. Like, when you see him lie, when you see him lie like that, they remind you of the problem with the Democratic Party. They will lie to you and think they seem to think that we're dumb. I don't know what's going on. Like, everything that's being revealed, they don't know what's being revealed. They don't know that we know about AIPAC now. And they don't know about we understand track AIPAC. They don't know that we understand when you endorse a candidate, you endorse the candidate. It wasn't like you kind of endorsed the candidate, Jasmine Crockett. You endorsed him. You endorsed the AIPAC Democrat. And it just seems to be like it's the same thing with them over and over again. They think they're smarter than their constituency. That's why they're blue MAGA. I mean, he was going to release. He said, "I don't want to release the report because I want us to focus on the wins. If we don't know why we lost, how can we focus on the win? That doesn't make any sense, right? Unless you're talking to dummies, and we're not dummies. You see what I'm saying? That's why we wouldn't accept it. That's why he released it. It wasn't even done. It wasn't even done. What are they doing? Now this should be like an 18 alarm fire going off right now with what's going on with the Democrats. Every day and we don't know what's happening with these concentration camps, detention centers. We don't know what's going on. They got over almost 70,000 people in detention. They're not feeding those people. That's one of the things I really worry about when this is said and done. What we're going to hear about, because it's still going on. What we saw in Missouri. I'm sorry, was it Missouri? Michigan. What we saw, I think it was Michigan. What we saw, Twin City. Yeah, what we saw in Michigan is still going on, and it's worse. Everybody says the exact same thing, but nobody's doing anything about it. And then we try to do something about it. They just pepper spray a member of Congress. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand that what they're doing is illegal, and they're probably gonna end up in jail or sued because they don't care, because they don't even live in the moment. And then but they know they're protected by Blue MAGA, who's not really pressing the case of what they need to do. Because if they were about doing what they need to do, Trump would have never been in office again. You know what I'm saying? They maintain the status quo. The Democratic Party maintains the status quo. $100 million coming from pro-Israel lobbies into our election system, into our government, has captured our government, and they can't think with that much money. The only ones that can think aren't taking AIPAC money. They come out explicitly say, Israel's bad. They come out there, but the ones that take the money, they can't say anything else. So I'm gonna give you an example of that. We've had one person of Congress actually do a mea culpa. She said, I took the money and I shouldn't have taken it, and it wasn't any good for me. But then we'll see. You'll see how much you'll see how this AIPAC influence goes on even after, because she took the money. Like he said, it was like $2 million. So even after they say they are no longer AIPAC Dems, it's still in there.
When it came to Israel, your campaign took money from the pro-Israel lobby, but then you went to Congress, you came here to DC, and your votes interested a lot of people. You co-sponsored Congresswoman Delia Ramirez's Block the Bombs Act. She was on the show last year talking about it. You also co-sponsored Representative Rashida Tlaib's resolution condemning genocide in Gaza. Correct. So a lot of people are asking, what's going on with this Congresswoman? Where does she stand? Did she shift?
No. Well, okay, so first things first. I haven't changed my values. Core values, compassion and courage. I'm a physician, I'm a mother, I take care of people for a living. The primary, that is how I sold myself, that is how I presented myself. It has not changed to the core values. What has changed is my position on Israel, and not significantly. I think people made assumptions because of pro-Israel money in my race. And let me be clear, I was very transparent about where I was on these issues. And frankly, I think that AIPAC in particular didn't want Pramila Jayapal's sister to be elected. Yeah. So
you recognize that? I mean, your
100%,
primary,
100%.
Your opponent was someone they were trying to block, and you benefited. I think $2 million was spent.
I'm going to push back on the benefited, because everything about that money has been toxic. It was a mistake.
You didn't get hurt your campaign, have you?
100%. And I asked them to stay out of the race. I refused to be endorsed by AIPAC. I wanted to be able to represent the needs and wants of my community. And this was not an issue where I had a developed, nuanced opinion, because I was a doctor and a mom and a state lawmaker.
But you were running, correct me if I'm wrong, you were running in 2024. This is when the South African government had already gone to the ICJ saying, please investigate this potential genocide. You were not saying it was a genocide at the time, correct me if I'm wrong.
I had not. You're correct.
But you have now co-sponsored Rashida Tlaib's resolution. 100%. Cory Booker, who's a very pro-Israel Democrat in the Senate, even Booker has seen the direction of travel of your party, and he's saying, I'm not going to take any more AIPAC money. Is that a pledge you've made?
100%. I have not had any more AIPAC money since May of 2020. But I have no intention of taking AIPAC money. As long as, and I don't anticipate it changing, but the Netanyahu government is clearly misguided. He's a war criminal. What's happening in Gaza is a genocide. I have no qualms about saying those things out loud. And my guess is they would say that their money was not well spent.
Okay, valid, right? That's what we need to hear from AIPAC Dems, right? But they still, I'm gonna play the next clip from that same interview, and I'm gonna show you. I haven't heard that Jeffries has refused to take any more AIPAC money. I'm gonna find that clip, and I'll probably play it next week, or I'm sorry, on Friday, just to see it, because I haven't heard it. If he says that he's no longer taking AIPAC money, I commend him. He hasn't taken the most. But let me show y'all this next clip. Now, this clip is gonna show you that even though she has sworn off AIPAC money, is still there. The influence of the pro-Israel lobby is still there. They are unable to see, like she said, she was a doctor, right? She's lived a privileged life. She doesn't see the fight that we need to get out of the situation. I do commend her for coming on air and definitely saying it, because I haven't seen it from anyone else. That's the first time I've seen it. But I haven't heard from Hakeem Jeffries, but I'm gonna look for that one too. So this is this next video from the same interview, and I want you to look at how she's still really on the fence about what she needs to do to distance herself from Israel and AIPAC.
Do you believe that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are the right leaders for this moment?
Chuck Schumer will be dealt with by his Senate colleagues. I believe that new leadership is being considered, and certainly am encouraging that consideration. In our party, Hakeem Jeffries has never had gavels. It's easy to say he's weak. When you're in the minority, of course he's weak. We're all weak. What I have experienced of Hakeem Jeffries is his willingness to listen, to be responsive to the caucus. We have an enormous proportion of us that are 5 terms or less. There is a tide changing.
Congressman, if I go and tell lefty friends of mine who are disillusioned with the Democratic Party that, you know what, there's a congresswoman from Oregon who's co-sponsoring Rashida Tlaib's bill on genocide. There are Democrats writing letters about Israel's nuclear weapons program. There are actually people taking a stand in the Democratic Party. What they say to me is, who cares? It's all about the leadership, and the leadership is Hakeem Jeffries. He's super pro-Israel. He probably is okay with this Iran war. He's been very slow in pushing the war powers resolution. They look at leadership, and they say the Democratic Party is represented by Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, not by Maxine Dexter or Rashida Tlaib.
It's a matter of time.
Okay.
We need.
You believe the tide is turning?
Absolutely. And Hakeem Jeffries has been very responsive, supportive.
You believe you guys are pressuring him in the right direction?
I do.
Okay.
And he keeps his office door open. His staff is very welcoming to alternative opinions. I think that people are seeing not just seeing, but reading the tea leaves of what the American people need. And let's not be shy about saying we can't just win a majority in 26. We need to win the Senate. We need maybe in 26, but absolutely in 28. We need a presidency, and we are going to need 10, 20 years of courageous leadership to not just build back what Donald Trump has destroyed, but build back what the American people deserve.
10 to 20. I'm gonna let this sit right here. 10 to 20 years. So you should subscribe to Zedo. Zedo, that's his private, I forget his name. That's his, he built this independent media platform. So you definitely should be subscribed to him. But you can see how even though she doesn't understand 10 to 20 years, right? She's still like, well, Hakeem, he's a nice guy. You see what I'm saying? He's a nice guy. He's not a fighter. He's a nice guy. Now he sees he shouldn't take the AIPAC money. He still has not endorsed Zoran Mondami, by the way. None of them have. And you see the money right here on the screen that they've taken from AIPAC. He says he's going to take no more. Chuck ain't said nothing. He's not going to say nothing. He's gone. He's gone. He's for AIPAC completely. Israel completely. He's a Zionist. But you see, there's almost what? How much is that? Almost like 18 million, 1,800,000, close to $200,000. I mean, $2 million just for these two campaigns. That's what we're fighting against. That's what we're dealing with. And even though she said she's seen the problem, she admitted it was a genocide, but then she still wants to believe that Hakeem Jeffries, after taking $1,495,000 from AIPAC, is no longer going to take any AIPAC money. Damage has already been done. I'm glad he's not taking any more AIPAC money, but that doesn't mean anything right now. It doesn't mean anything because he was in charge through, I think, since the first Trump presidency, and then Biden, and now Trump again. So he has been the man in charge the whole time and has been unable to get the Democrats in line and give them a vision and a plan to take back our country. None whatsoever. So when I say they still capitulate, they're still trying to figure it out. They don't understand the need to fight. And I think that comes from a life of privilege. Never had to fight. You know what I'm saying? Had to be sternly and write a letter, but never had to fight for what you actually wanted or needed. So that's why I'm not convinced that we're gonna make it out of this anymore. It's basically be aware and be ready. Be ready for whatever comes, because it's gonna come. I mean, just the fact that Texas elected Ken Paxton to run for them for the Senate seat against Talarico. Ken Paxton is a problem. I mean, he is a stone cold criminal, gangster criminal. That's why Trump, endorsed him over the guy who's been in office for years and been a ally of Trump for years. He wanted the crook, and then they wanted the crook, and in a runoff, they voted overwhelmingly for the crook. And the crooks, crimes I'm talking about are not nice ones. We're talking about raping 3-year-old boys, 6-year-old boys for 3 years. I don't know the age, but he was convicted. His friend was convicted of that, and he got him off a very lenient sentence, and he doesn't have to register as a sex offender after raping a child for 3 years or 6 years or a 6-year-old child. But that's what I'm saying though. That's the people that Trump endorses, and that's who MAGA votes for over and over again. That's why I say I do it again. Yeah, so that's cool, right? So I just want to today I'm just want to talk about and bring up the fact that there is a blue MAGA, that Israel, it will never be seen in the same light. I want to apologize for my blindness of not seeing the plight of the Palestinians. I always felt that something was wrong, but I couldn't understand it because I couldn't get past the anti-Semitic label. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't get past the fact that maybe I'm anti-Semitics. They're calling each other anti-Semitic now. The Zionists against the Hasidic, they're calling each other anti-Semitic. I just saw the VSR tonight on Instagram. They're threatening to kill each other. One of the Zionists told Hasidic, "I will come to your house and kill you." That's the people that we supposed to support over anything, over our own interests. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. I can't do it. I can't do it. Once you see it, we've been brainwashed, and I gotta admit it. We've been brainwashed. I was brainwashed. You know what I'm saying? How I believed, I'm not even a Christian anymore. How I believed that was the Holy Land and they're the holy people, God's chosen people. They're gone to their head. They've lost it. They have lost it. That's it for the night. I think I'm gonna go ahead and we need to go to some hope now. I'm gonna bring you some hope. I got a couple short spoken word poems I wanted to listen to. I enjoyed them. They're a little different. One was Maui. I love Maui. So the first one, this is somebody new. I think it's kind of old, but I like the energy behind it. So I don't know who this is though. What's her name? All my notes are right here. The first one, her name is, I don't know her name. It's just a random video. It looks like it used to be on. It looks like this recording is from BET. Was it slam poetry? This is slam poetry, not spoken word, so it's a little different. But I like it. Check it out.
I read the news so that you don't have to. Apparently America cut food stamps and now grocery companies are complaining. Where did all the...
That was a mistake. So I'm going to cue this one back up and I'm going to go ahead and do this right. Basically, I wanted to also highlight this one more thing. I'm sorry, I forgot it. I wanted to highlight the issues of the Big Beautiful Bill. The Big Beautiful Bill cutting a lot of people out of off the rolls for SNAP, food stamps, EBT cards. They just took these people money. People still hungry. They need to eat. And also, they never think about the other side. What happens is the grocery stores are hurting now because people don't have money to buy food. And they don't think about things. They don't really think about. They just think about themselves, and don't think about what's the whole picture of what happens if we as a country has decided to feed a group of people because they're hungry, and they take that money and spend it in grocery stores, right? That's something that I'm a taxpayer. That's something I'm okay with. I don't, people may steal the money and do other stuff with it. But I don't care about that. I care about that people eat and are able to take care of themselves. And then I also care about the economy, that the stores are receiving that money to employ people. We're all connected, but they want to act like we're not connected. And then these are the problems that we run into.
The news so that you don't have to. So apparently America cut food stamps and now grocery companies are complaining. Where did all the customers go? Shockingly, when millions of people have less money for groceries, grocery sales go down. As you can see, the headline says Trump cuts to grocery subsidies bite US food companies. Let me tell you what's going on. So this is about SNAP, which stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. This is a US program that helps low-income households buy groceries, and it's not some tiny niche benefit. SNAP households are a huge part of the grocery economy. So according to the article, they make up almost a third more shopping trips than other households. And a lot of their spending goes on branded packaged foods. The kind of stuff that's sold by companies like Kraft Heinz. But after Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, SNAP was cut significantly. So the program is expected to lose around $180 million in federal spending over the next decade. Work requirements were tightened. Since the law was passed last July, the number of people receiving SNAP has reportedly fallen by 3.5 million. So that's about 8%. This is where the economics gets very simple. So if you cut food assistance, people do not magically become less hungry. They just become more constrained. So they buy less, they trade down, and they move to discount retailers. They also rely more on food banks, and that is showing up in the company results. Kraft Heinz have said that lower SNAP payments and fewer recipients had a negative impact on demand for products. Ahold Delhaize, which owns US supermarket chains, also said that SNAP benefit reductions were dragging on sales. And the article also said that in Arizona, SNAP participation had fallen by 42% since July. At the same time, the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona says that the number of people receiving food from charity has risen from around 150,000 to 200,000. Quick run through of that: state cuts support, supermarkets lose spending, food companies lose sales, and the food banks pick up the pressure because you're not eliminating the need, you're just moving the cost somewhere else. This is the thing. Welfare is often framed as just a handout, but in practice, programs like SNAP are also economic infrastructure. That money goes straight back into the economy because people use it to buy food, supermarkets receive revenue, and food companies sell products. So workers keep the shelves stocked and supply chains move. Local economies circulate that money. So when politicians cut benefits, they may be able to say that they reduce government spending, but the economic impact does not disappear. It just shows up as lower sales, as more pressure on charities, as families skipping meals. It shows up as older people or disabled people or lower income workers and children being pushed into more insecurity. And that is why just cut welfare is such a shallow argument, because poor people are not hoarding money offshore. They spend it immediately and usually on essentials. So when you cut their income, you are not just pushing individuals, you are withdrawing demand from the real economy. So now the food industry is learning the hard way. When you take food away from millions, eventually someone has to swallow the cost.
So I figured out how to fix my mic. What she's saying is true, right? I mean, it's the same thing with the immigrants. They're taking the immigrants away from taking the immigrants out of the economy, and the GDP is falling. The taxes they collect are falling. They're doing everything they can to make our lives harder and make this economy crash again. It always crashes under Republicans. If you don't believe me, look it up. All right, so let's go to the spoken word. Let's get some hope. Let's listen to some spoken word. This one's pretty. It's funny. It's not funny, but it's real. It's real and it's raw. It's actually slam poetry, not spoken word.
So through dealing with niggas just like you, cause I done had a few niggas just like you. I had the ballin' type to call all night, keep claiming me coming through. I had the CEO that would bring me dough cause he always had something to prove. I had the so-called God man that thought he could do everything God can. So he was closer to God than the church man. I had the meet me at the poetry spot, down to earth man. I had the nigga from the club who was only good for a fuck, and I had a street nigga that kept claiming that he was down on his luck. I had a player with no goals, no heart, just game. I had the 24 in the studio on his way to fame. I had a control freak who thought that he could keep me on a chain, and I had a nigga that lied so much I don't even know his real name.
Yeah, I think I've been one of those in every stage. I've been one of those niggas at different stages of my life. It's like as I get older, 60 now, I wasn't always a good guy. I tried to be. I thought I was, but then sometimes, situations when you're dealing with women and they always seem to want the bad boy. I tried to be the bad boy a lot, especially in my younger days, high school. Even though I wasn't completely bad, but I had some issues. I just seen that you have to create an image. And the image I created was I was always down and around, sneaking and bobbing, doing what I gotta do. I was on the move. That was my thing. I was always on the move, and I didn't. I said it before in my other podcast. I did not have a girlfriend. I only had one girlfriend in high school, but I had a lot of friends because I didn't want to argue. I'm not gonna argue with you. That's another story. I talked about that. I may repost some of those clips because I did not want to argue. The first time I had to argue with a girl, that was it. I ain't never having another girlfriend. I'm not gonna do it because not that I didn't have friends. We could be friends, but the first time you try to argue with me, we're not gonna be friends no more. So that was a good one. And then I'm gonna play one more poem by now, just to get our minds off of all the stuff. Let's get back talking about some relationships. I think I had another video I wanted to play though. I did. Hold on one second. I think it was important that I play this other video because it was about MAGA. Yep. I don't think I have it. I do have it. I don't know what I did with it. Yeah, man, I spent all day doing this stuff, so it takes me a long time to coordinate the videos with the scenes and all that kind of stuff. And I could have swore I set it up, but I don't think I did. I'm not going through it, so I'll play it next week. It's about a MAGA guy who was having sex with a dog. The MAGA man was raping the pet dog. The wife thought the man was having an affair. She set up cameras in the house and caught him raping the dog. That's MAGA. And he got off because he was a rich man. He was influential. MAGA. He got off. But we don't want to play that. It's because I'm saying, like, white women, are y'all okay? Because it seems like an ever-ending parade of sexual predators, men committing pedophilia, sexual assault, rape, everything under the sun that they say that they're not, but it keeps happening, right? It keeps happening. All right, I see it now. I'm not gonna play though. All right, here go Maui. I talked about Maui before. She's been on here before. She has a light way of a light way with her poetry. It's sort of like really like she's in the poem, but she's also talking to you. So it's very good on how she does it. And every time she talks, I have to stop and listen. Maui.
Tell me that you love me with your actions, and then show me what I mean to you with no distractions or without me asking. Play with me and see what happens. Let's leave behind all the masking and the baggage to go fall in love, build us a family, make some magic. Guards down, and we ready to risk it all without obsessing about what might happen. Because even if it doesn't work out, it's a blessing to still say it happened. Some people don't experience this in a fraction. A bond is unshakable, built on more things than just attraction. I admire a lot of things about you, but I think you're the most beautiful when you laugh, and he think I'm capping. We had experience with children before we even had kids. There were still versions of ourselves that we had to parent. Loving each other while also learning to love ourselves, but somehow we manage. You put my anxiety at ease. Anything that I'm stressing about, I consider it handled. It's as if we in sync. I be having it ready for you before you even have a chance at asking. So tell me that you love me with your actions, and then show me what I mean to you with no distractions or without me asking. You play with me and see what happens. Let's leave behind all the masking and the baggage to go fall in love, build us a family, make some magic. Sometimes you want to experience love, but it just be like, God damn, I'm scared, okay? And I feel like so many people, like especially the men, they be like, oh, well, I love this one girl. She broke my heart in 8th grade, and I ain't never love again.
That's crazy.
Or my.
That's crazy because I love love. That's Maui. She on the glow up too. Maui, she's on the glow up. I think she's married now. She already had children. I think she has another. No, I don't think so. Anyway, she's on the glow up. She looks great. Still dropping bombs. Still dropping bars. I love spoken word. So that's it. I think I'm gonna get out of here now and leave it right there. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to think about. Definitely you want to make sure that you're registered, make sure that you're ready to go to the polls, or you receiving your ballots in the mail. It is important. Even though I don't believe we're going to win the midterms, we have to try. We have to try. I think I'm getting myself ready, or just conditioning myself for the possibility of losing and this continuing on, and then this country being over. And yeah, so yeah, we gotta think about it. So we're gonna hear some go-go. Which I want to hear. What do y'all want to hear? Y'all want to hear some What Band, Red Essence? What's another one I like now? District Kings. What do y'all want to hear? Let's listen to some go-go and then go home.
Right there, yo.
This is the What Band.
Big Mike, it up. Little road it up. County road it up. Big play it up.
Let me know if you think I should put my if I should put the go back at the beginning. But I do want a theme song. Theme song, that's what I call it.
Happy birthday, April. Where you at? Oh, let's work.
And I always say, if you don't understand the go-go, you gotta come to DC. I'll take you. You'll understand it after one night. You will always be a go-go fan. All right, I'm getting ready to go. Remember what I always say, seek peace, pursue it. And sometimes as you're seeking peace, the people that you were with are no longer part of your peace. You may have to leave them behind. All right, I'll see y'all on Friday. Keep your head up. Pay attention to what's happening. And stay woke. Peace. I'm out.